Hey guys, my name is Dominique Flux. I'm here today with Benedict, an FGA gemologist, and we are actually filming the second part of the YouTube video about Alexandrite. So if you want to know more about like the qualities, the prices, how to identify fakes, hop on over to the other video. It will be down below in the links. And today we're going to be covering, everything from the engagement rings, is it good to have as an engagement ring? We're going to be looking at like how to actually clean it, how to maintain it. And then at the very end, we're going to be doing a Q&A. So all the questions that you guys submitted about Alexandrite, we're going to be answering them at the end. So make sure you stick to that because we got a lot of interesting questions, and enjoy.
So we usually measure the hardness on mass scale. Mm-hmm. So you have 1 to 10. 10 is diamond, and Alexandrite, it's around 8.5. So somewhere between 8 and 9. Mm-hmm. The gap between 2 and 3 is much smaller than 8 and 9. Like if you look, it's like a curve, like it's a very big difference. So everything that is, I would say, over 7.5 is fine for daily wear. Mm-hmm. Ideally, people are told like you should get a diamond because it's like the hardest stone, it's the toughest stone. It's not. Diamonds are the hardest, but they're not the toughest.
They can crack. I've seen diamonds with little chips in them. Yeah. So it really just comes down to like how you're wearing your jewelry. Like
exactly,
you need maintenance, you need care for it. So
because let's say like the diamond, it will never scratch. Don't worry about that. Mm-hmm. But if you hit it like on the wrong angle, it can break in half. So it's not like it's the hardest, it's not the toughest. If you go with sapphires are 9 of hardness, and they don't have this thing that diamonds have, which is a cleavage, which is like a plan in like the structure. There's like a weakness, and it's like if you break it, it's like cut it with a saw. It's like a clean cut. Sapphires don't have that. So if like, the sapphire might scratch over time only if you rub it against diamonds, which we usually don't do, but it won't break or chip as much. Yeah. And so Alexandrite, it also doesn't have any particular weakness. And it's a pretty tough stone. It's a hard stone. It's more than perfect for like engagement ring.
It also has the same refraction index as a sapphire basically, so it has a really, really nice fiery brilliance to it if it's well cut, obviously, but that's something that you do want for an engagement ring because you want that pop.
Yeah, you don't want something like dull. How do you clean it? Because engagement ring, especially in 2022, means washing your hands, soap, sanitizer, all of that stuff that just gets in the ring. So super easy: toothbrush, warm water, dish soap, and you just brush it gently. You can use an old toothbrush. I have a toothbrush at home that is just for jewelry, and you can do that as much as you want. It's not gonna break anything. It's not. It might use the gold a little faster. Like maybe you don't want to do it every 3 times a day, but like once a week, where you just dip it in water and gently brush it, you will see the sparkle come back. And that's for like most stones. Like no, don't do that with pearls. Don't do that with most like organic stones. Don't do it. But like everything like amethyst or even morganite, aquamarine, you just give it a little brush. You'll see you'll have a brand new ring.
I do that honestly probably like once a month. I put so much cream on that they're just getting buttered. So you don't hesitate to wash.
And it takes like 15 seconds.
Yeah, like, exactly.
It's fast, it's cheap. Yeah.
And in terms of like grease, because I know that like some stones cling to grease more frequently, like diamonds, morganites, topaz, I think as well. Is this a stone that clings or not so much?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
It's usually, no, it should be fine.
Okay, perfect.
we know people want the origin.
Yeah, that comes down to like a lot of clients do want more like an ethically sourced engagement ring.
I know India, there's a lot of maybe bad cutting factories, but usually it's more for like geodes or like those crystals you'll find that like festivals and stuff like that. But the gemstone cutter, the high quality gemstone, I've visited lots of factory there, and it's nice. We work directly from the mine. These are straight from there. And some are cut, the bigger ones are cut in Hong Kong. The smaller ones usually will be India or Sri Lanka or Thailand. But these are all Brazilian.
We would know the origin of where it's coming from because she knows it's coming from this mine in Brazil. She can vouch for it. And then it's been like she said, cut in Hong Kong, which means that, you know, there are certain standards of quality of labor. I think sometimes there's like a big misconception that just because it's from a third world country, like it doesn't mean that they're necessarily slaves. Like,
oh no,
this is just probably a big production industry for them in these areas. So, you know, just because it's coming from India or elsewhere, it's not a bad thing. Like she said, you have to know like each individual mine. So, and
it's like those countries that are cutting, they're like hub, you know, so everything goes there to be cut. They have the knowledge, they know how to train people. Like if you have a stone cut here in Montreal, it's going to be expensive because there's like 3 cutters in Montreal, and they're backed up with work, so they can afford to like, and there's the cost of living here that is not the same there. And over there they're like organized, you know, it's like chain cutting.
Yeah,
like
it's production.
It's production. And a lot of people, like, because the fact that we know exactly the mine where it comes from, it's good. Because sometimes people ask me like, oh, where does the sapphire come from? And I'll say like Sri Lanka or Madagascar. But like, if you don't know the region or the mine, then that's kind of like irrelevant, because you just know like a country. You don't know the conditions, you don't know where it is, you don't know if it's legal mining or like like a big mine or like small scale. Like the fact that there's a few gemstones that we have the exact origin and that we can trace to like where it's mined, where it's cut, and then it goes straight here.
Right now, we're going to actually do the last little Q&A for questions that we received on Reddit, because of course, if you don't follow us on other social media platforms, please do, because we share a lot of like short form content on our Instagram, a lot of like really fun, cool projects that we've been working on. But right now, we are going to answer all of the questions from Reddit. So, Fig of the Imagination asked, we got a piece of synthetic Alexandrite jewelry and it's wonderful, but I was wondering if there's an easy way to see if it's really chemically Alexandrite as opposed to color changing corundum.
Oh yeah, definitely. There's lots of ways to differentiate them, but you need the gemological tools. So what I would do is take a spectrum. So you see what element gives the color, what zones, like what is absorbed. You'll have very like 2 different spectra. Another thing is, well, the refraction index, it will be slightly different, but it will be very close.
Very similar.
But then again, you need the refractometer. So at
the
home,
refractometer.
The refractometer.
Wow.
Oh yeah.
Sounds like something like Back to the Future.
It is.
Okay.
It is. It's not even electric powered. It's just like this
old school
very
technology.
Cool technology. Used to be powered by the candlelight. Now we have the light that has the exact same wavelength. But yeah, you'll need tools, or I mean you probably have like, if you have, what I can say, well, you can bring it to an appraiser, but then if you have like a mineral club, sometimes they will have these tools and they will know how to use them.
That's true. There should probably be a mineral club in almost any city, so that's something you can check out. So Sparky Boom wants to know the difference in production and quality of lab-made Alexandrite. Is one lab-made closer to natural than others?
As we mentioned earlier, when you have a synthetic, it's the same. It's the same for synthetic diamonds. It's a diamond. It's a real diamond. It's just not mined. It was made in a lab. But so you have synthetics and you have artificial. So artificial is something that doesn't have like a natural equivalent. But if it's a synthetic with like that has a natural equivalent, then it's the same. There's no synthetic better than the other.
Like even chemical composition is going to be the same.
It's going to be the same. The trace elements might change, but the chemical composition, the properties, everything will be the same.
All right, we have a question from Cows Rule Lusal. And basically, to summarize, they're wondering if synthetic Alexandrite uses laser that can alter the ratio, like with heat treatment. Like basically, I guess if you can change using heat treatments, which is something that we do see in other stones, for example, like sapphires, to enhance the color.
Or the clarity. There will be... There's all kind of heat treatment. When you add oxygen, you remove it. There's different temperatures. Some gemstones, you can heat them on your regular stove. Some gemstone, you'll need like 2,500 degrees. So it just depends. The other, like the great thing about natural Alexandrite, it's not heat treated. So it's like the
natural beauty of the color is really the natural beauty of the color.
That's it. They're just beautiful like this. Naturally.
The Sammy had asked, why is color change Alexandrite more valuable than color change garnet? I guess because it's scarcity, right?
Yes. So color change garnet, it's lots of garnet. It will be like kind of like a byproduct of other mines. So they will mine like more valuable gemstones, and they will find garnet because usually, I mean, when you have a mine with gemstones, you'll have different gems there. You won't those are like secondary deposit. If you find a pegmatite, like a vein, then that's what you get. But usually you'll have a few minerals at the same mine. So garnet, like there's just so much of it. So it's a lot less rare.
Scarcity plays is going to play a huge factor in the price of your gemstone.
And you can find like huge rough garnet, and it's not that expensive. Like you'll mostly pay for the quality you end up with once it's cut, and like the labor for cutting it. But the material is not rare or expensive.
Okay, so Shroom Hunter 93 wants to know, why is it called Alexandrite? Is it from Alexandrite the Great?
Yes. Absolutely. That's why they're named Alexandrite, because they were first discovered in Russia, in the Ural region, and that was, I think, early 1800, like 1830s or something like that. It was before Alexander the Great, so it was named in honor of their future Tsar.
I think it's the second Tsar.
I know it was discovered when he was still like very, very young and was supposed to be. So there was one before him. Yeah. So I don't know if it's the second or like the fourth or the 10th.
So one of the
Tsars. There was one before him. So it was found in Russia, and
I think it's their gemstone too, right? It's like yeah.
They have other gemstones, but that's like they're very proud of their Alexandrites. Yeah.
Again, my name is Dominique Flux. This is Benedict Lavoie. If you want to follow her on Prt2, she has a beautiful selection there that you can check out. And yeah, I'd love to see you back. Thanks for watching. Bye.